Hey y'all, everyone. We are back.
We're back with another episode of Taking Responsibility for Your Happiness.
It's not them, it's you. And today we're going to discuss the art of letting go. So this is going to be good.
Science to it. Yeah.
It is a science to it.
Yes.
So we talked about have you let yourself go, but there's some things that you need to let go. Okay? So
quick introductions. I'm Matilda. I'm into fashion.
And I'm Sharice. I'm into health, wellness, living a joyful life.
And all things self care and
self-awareness.
Being your authentic self, right?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it, y'all. Oh, before we go any further, like, comment, share, and subscribe. It would help our channel out a lot if you did it. And just stay tuned.
Okay. So the art of letting go. Here's some questions to kind of get our molecules going in our head. What are you holding on to that is holding you back?
That's a good one because a lot of times we don't even realize that something that we're holding on to is holding us back. And we're talking about right now, I think in this case, an emotional attachment that we need to just release in order to propel us forward for our lives and propel us forward for what we want out of life. We want to be joyful. We want to be happy. And I get it. You know, life is not always a quote unquote walk in the park, but we're going to have our ups and downs, but let's, kind of be the happiest while we're doing it.
I agree. Here's another one. What narrative do you repeat daily that keeps you in the same situation year after year?
What do you mean by narrative, girl?
Narrative is like a story that you keep telling yourself. Dang. And the best example I can use is an illness, because sometimes we relive it every day. And yes, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's the narrative that we tell ourselves around it that keeps it around.
Yeah, and it just grows and grows and grows as we feed it and repeat this same thing in our minds all the time.
Yes, and I'll use an example that I've used in other videos as far as my skin, because I've just been going through this since last year into this year. And it was the narrative that I kept telling myself. It started off not that bad. And then it grew into a monster.
Yeah. And then this thing will kind of take over your life.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's that narrative that I just had to let go.
Exactly.
And it was my uncle who said to me, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to another doctor because I've been to so many doctors. He said, the doctors can't help you. It's you. You got to change what you're telling yourself and the narrative. You keep it alive by telling the story over and over and over.
Absolutely. And that even goes for, people who think that they are something, but their actions aren't aligning with what they're thinking or what they're saying. It's like you're telling yourself that you're a business person, but you don't have a website, you don't have business cards. I'm using this as an example of myself.
Yeah.
You don't have a business card, you don't have all these things that will, a business with no sign is a sign of no business.
Right.
So if you don't have anything to market yourself as a business person, then are you really a business?
Right.
That's what you got to ask yourself.
Exactly.
And that's a story that I've told myself, I'm a business. No, you're not if you don't have all these components lined up.
Right.
And that's sometimes, when you're letting go of something or a narrative, you have to really tell yourself the truth.
Oh, gosh. The truth is real.
The truth will make you free. That's what Jesus said.
Exactly. And another thing, because what you said kind of made me think about the broke talk.
Oh, Lord.
Because a lot of us will continue that narrative, even though we're really not broke.
Exactly.
We have money coming in.
Right.
Consistently.
Okay. And it will cause you to not really live life if you continue to keep up that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because something that my therapist says is, what are the facts?
Yeah, what are the facts?
Because if you have the broke talk, like, oh, let me beg so-and-so for this $20 here, and let me ask such and such for $20 there, and you got money coming in, you have income coming in, you have resources to provide you with more income, but you're constantly telling yourself in your head, oh, we struggling. Yeah. Oh, so-and-so, oh man, I can't. I had to use my last $20 to catch the bus just to get my baby some food. It's like, that's a story that you're telling yourself, and you're keeping that up to perpetuate whatever agreement that you agreed to when you were younger. Because maybe some of us grew up not so fortunate. Right. But now that we're adults, it's like you have a way of providing for yourself. Yeah. So you're not broke. Stop begging people for money. Right. Stop acting like you don't have money. And let's look at the facts. Yeah. Do you have any income coming in? Right. Okay, then you're not broke. Right. And this broke talk is deep because it's huge in our community. Yes. We like to glorify being broke. Yeah, and struggling. And struggling, and we use it as a way to connect to each other. And so that's toxic. Not only is it toxic, but it prevents us from really getting to where we want to go. Absolutely. Financially. Yes. As a community. It's like, if we continue, because aren't Black people, we spend the most money in the United States. Trillions of dollars. How are we broke? Yeah. This is the question. How are we, when you really think about it, how are we really broke? Yes. We managed to get money for $600 hair. We managed to get money for whatever we want to get, but yet we like to use the broke talk when it comes to being responsible and paying bills. Yes, exactly. And these are services that you've been using. So it's not like, they're just charging you for nothing. It's like, no, you're utilizing these services. You're utilizing your place, your dwelling place. You're utilizing your lights and your gas bill. Why? It's not something that just, oh my gosh, a FedEx package you just got out of nowhere. It's like, no, you know that your bill is due on the 30th of every month. Right. It shouldn't be a surprise. Right. And you're acting broke, quote unquote, or you're talking broke, but you really have income coming in. So that is a narrative. Yeah. And it is a form of connecting with one another. Yes, yes. And I said that it's toxic because it's not a positive or progressive way that we can connect with one another. Yes. And I think that sometimes we do that because if we tend to utilize, financial freedom as a way that we can connect one another, it's this big I and little you thing that begins to cultivate. Very much so. So it's like, if I'm making a certain amount of income and we're discussing how we can win, it's like, oh, well, she don't make what I make, so she can't have that conversation. Exactly. And it's like, no, stop. Right. That is a form of gatekeeping. It is a form of gatekeeping. And it's something that we need to let go. Yes. And I don't think that we can let it go until we're really honest with ourselves. I agree. And in regards to letting go the broke talk, it should be what you want out of life. So if you don't want to be broke, why do you keep this narrative around? Right. Why? And then because you're saying it, you will constantly have situations in your life where your bank account is at zero again, even though you may have started off with $5,000. Right. But by the end of the week, you at zero because you keep saying that you broke and you're just spending your money irresponsibly. Exactly. Or you just keep the friends that you keep, you all are just, oh, my money's tight this week. Oh, I hear it all the time. I got a fixed income. I'm waiting on my check and all this kind of stuff. I've said it too. It's like, that's awesome. I'm waiting on this money, it's like I'm waiting on tax season. My money comes. You're waiting on all this stuff. But is that perpetuating you not living in abundance? Exactly. And not believing that there is enough for you. Absolutely. So what narratives are you saying? Because some of us have the broke talk. I'm guilty of it. Yeah. And I do it sometimes so that I don't go to, it's like, just say you don't want to go. Don't you? Right. Just say you're not trying to go. Don't say, oh girl, my money is funny. My money is funny. I ain't gonna be able to. It's like, you know what? I'm not feeling it.
It's like,
because you got money to go to
what you want to do,
the grocery store or Zara or whoever to spend your money there.
Right.
But you can't spend it on this $90 concert.
Right.
I have to check myself. It's like, wait a minute.
Right.
I got money for X, Y, and Z. No, I'm going to this Maxwell concert.
Exactly.
I'm going to figure it out because I'm going to spend, the money is going to be spent.
Exactly.
So it's like, stop using that as an excuse.
Yes.
And really live your life.
Right.
And do what you want to do.
So let that go.
Yeah. Let the narrative go. Yes.
And sometimes, as far as the narrative, some people use their narrative to get sympathy.
And that's a deeper illness.
That's even deeper. It's like that you're so attached to your narrative because it gets you attention and sympathy from other people. And it's a form of manipulation.
Absolutely.
And you got to watch out for people like that because they will drain you and they will
use vampires.
Their illness, use them being broke, use them being down and out as a way to take from you.
It just puts a bad taste in my mouth.
It's happened to me many times, and I fell for the okie doke because I felt sorry, but it's like, ain't nobody feeling sorry for me.
I was just about to say that. It's like, I need to start feeling sorry for myself and where I am and where I want to go.
Right.
I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to feel sorry for you, boo. I'm feeling sorry for myself. There's no room.
And that's how we take responsibility.
Exactly.
I can't be responsible for where you are in your life and pay your bills. You know?
And also, that's how you're able to set a boundary.
That's a serious boundary.
So that somebody is not coming to you asking you for $20 a month. Because
every other week.
Or every other week.
I'm saying it because it's happened.
Right. So stop telling yourself these narratives and stop believing them.
Yes. Here's another one. What argument or falling out do you constantly play over in your head?
Oh my God.
Over and over and over.
Wow. So that's good because if you're constantly playing this argument or this fallout, that means that it's something that you could have said or that you wanted to say, but you chose not to say.
Yeah.
And what you're really telling yourself is you're mad at yourself for not advocating for yourself.
That's always what it is.
Yes. And it's like, you got to accept what happened, accept where it is, and just let it go.
Yeah.
Because it's not helping you. You can carry that into other relationships in your life or your day. It's like, oh, I got a messed up day. And it's like, why? It's like, oh, because I had this argument with so-and-so a month or two ago. And it's like, it seems like yesterday because you're playing this over and over and over in your head.
You're reliving the situation.
Exactly.
Every single day.
So some things that I have found, because my brother even told me, like, sometimes, Matilda, you'll get into an argument with somebody or you get into a misunderstanding and you'll just allow it to consume you so that it doesn't take over your life. Something that I have been practicing doing as of recently is identifying what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And then just acknowledging, okay, you're mad because you didn't say what you should have said.
Right, right.
And just letting that go.
Yeah.
You know, identifying what you're feeling and why. And then, okay, well, what are we going to do about it now?
Right.
Are we going to call this person up and try to plead our case or are we going to let it go?
Right.
I got this to do today. I got this to check off my list. I don't have time to keep this going, so I'm gonna let it go. Yeah.
And that's a good thing because even deeper, sometimes we have things that happened like 20 years ago that we still I can bear witness. Some things in high school, it's like, okay, girl, that was how many years ago? Yeah. You still mad at you still looking at this person on Facebook like,
Right. And because they're a different person now, because you're a different person now, right? So, well, that's a little unfair.
I'm joking. That's what we think.
Yeah, it's a little unfair for us to think that they haven't changed, but we want to plead our case about us changing.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I would say that's a good one too, because I've had to work on myself with that as well. I'll see somebody, or how about this? somebody will still think that you feel a way about them.
Yeah.
And you already done let it go.
And you moved on.
And they feel like, oh, well, I didn't say anything to you because it's X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, so you're still holding on to it.
That's true.
So sometimes we're in those type of situations where we have to say, well, I'll let that go.
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah.
I just know how you're going to show up in my life. I'm not going to place you in that position anymore. But we could. Oh, okay. I thought that you were going to say X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, that's something that you need to work on.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of art of letting go. It's like, you don't always have to find your peace in the situation by confronting the person.
That's a good one.
Sometimes you just got to find it within yourself, because there may never be an opportunity for you to address it with this person. So what, you're just supposed to live with?
Right.
You're just supposed to live with and let distress and let it eat away at you every single day.
Right.
No, you have an opportunity and you have a responsibility to yourself to deal with how you're feeling. And if you need professional help, just know there is professional help, because some of us need to work through this professionally.
Yes, we do.
Because it stems from something deeper.
Yes,
sometimes.
Exactly. And we don't need to be getting on the phone running our friends down about this same situation over and over and over again, keeping you up late at night and just like, girl, and he said this, and I just feel, and why? And I'm crying, and then she crying, and then at one point she just quiet, like give me that blank stare, even though we're on the phone and I don't see her. It's like the blank stare, like,
yes.
Well, maybe you should talk to somebody about this.
Yes.
Because it's like it's our responsibility to not run our friends down with this scenario that we're playing over and over in our head.
Exactly. And I hate to break it to all of us that have these scenarios, but it no longer exists.
Wow.
We're done.
Boom.
And it keeps you living in the past. You can't even be in the present moment, fully functioning, doing whatever you have to do throughout the day if you're living in the past.
That is so true.
You're robbing yourself of the present.
And you can't even get that back.
No. You can't get your time
get the present back.
No.
Because it's already gone.
Or your energy.
And then you're going to be mad at that.
Yeah.
This fool took all my energy. I'm wasting my time with me thinking about this stupid thing, and I can't get my time back. And here you go. And while this person is sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And sleeping real good.
Sleeping good, not even thinking about it. They don't even know they didn't. Sometimes people don't even know they did you wrong.
Yeah, that is.
And that goes back to you saying earlier that because you didn't advocate for yourself and you didn't stand up, they may not even know that they wronged you.
So I think that's the deeper meaning. You're playing this over and over in your head because you didn't advocate for yourself.
Exactly.
So it's really you, again, taking responsibility for your own self.
Yeah.
It's really you that has the issue with you because you didn't advocate. And I'm not saying that everybody's supposed to maneuver through life perfectly and watch what you say and do that. You got to be yourself. But the problem is we face this issue when we're playing this over and over in our head because it was something that we were supposed to say that we didn't say.
We didn't. And instead of using it as a lesson and like, okay, this time, this situation happened. I didn't speak up for myself. If I get presented with that again, let me practice speaking up for myself and standing up for myself so that I'm not feeling the same way.
Exactly.
Because I have had situations where I spoke up for myself and the ones that I didn't. And the ones that I spoke up for myself, I don't even remember them.
Right.
But I hold on to the ones where I've let myself down because I haven't let it go because I haven't forgiven myself. It's not necessarily the other person because the other person, block them out.
Right.
We know who they are and we accept who they are and we deal with them accordingly. But you play it over and over because it's like, man, I should have said this. I should have said that.
Mm-hmm. And folks holding on to stuff for 2 months. Sending you a text message saying, oh yeah, I've been holding on to this for so long and I want to say X, Y, and Z to you.
I've had somebody say that to
being
me.
Being upset. And I done moved on because I advocated for myself. It's like, oh, okay.
Right. But sometimes people also feel guilty.
There you go.
Because let's say you were on the other side and somebody told you who you were and you weren't ready to see yourself like that.
Teach. That's true.
You take offense to that.
Yeah. And then you playing that scenario over and over in your head, and it's like, press pause, go to the bathroom, and look in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's who you need to be confronting, and that's who you need to be upset with.
Right.
Because, it's about taking responsibility.
It is about taking responsibility. And if somebody presents something to you about yourself, and it's not the first time that you've heard it, sometimes you got to look at yourself because you're the common denominator, and maybe there's something that you could work on.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not them, it's you. That goes back to the title of the show.
That's our show.
That's why we're here. Okay. So what's next?
So this is kind of in alignment with what we've been talking, but who are you blaming for the condition of your relationships?
That's a good one. Because I've heard it before. It was like, oh, this person did this to me and that person did that to me. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe he or she was this type of person, and just on and on and on. And I'm like, well, it all still goes back to you, because if, okay, these people are narcissists. Okay, these people are sociopaths.
Yeah.
But you're attracting them.
And why?
And why are you attracting them? And why are you allowing them in your life?
Exactly. Because, I mean, we attract all types of people.
Absolutely.
But you got to set up some boundaries when this type of personality presents itself.
Absolutely. Because sometimes it will come in the form of a well-made a man. And you be thinking like, oh. And
he looks good. And next thing you know, he's massaging your shoulders at the... at the restaurant, and you're like, and it's like, it's not the time or place, right? This is all your ego.
We got a story to tell y'all. Listen up, okay? But are you blaming other people for where you are?
I have a perfect example for this, because we hear it all the time. Oh, well, my dad was never around, so we use that as an excuse for us not to make good decisions,
or
in our relationships.
Absolutely. Or for a certain type of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, oh, well, my dad wasn't around, so this is how I act.
Yeah.
And this is what I do. And it's like, but you're a grown adult. And for you to be able to identify the cause of your behavior means that you know what you're doing
right.
and you're wrong. And you need to stop it right now.
And you're using it as a form to manipulate people and to make them feel sorry and sympathize with you.
Exactly.
For making the wrong decisions.
Or treating them a certain way.
Exactly. So your dad not being around, your mom being a single mom and working all these hours, and you just didn't get the attention that you deserve. So that's what,
Or you not having friends in high school, and not being popular.
Yeah.
And all of that is not a reason for you to have a certain type of relationship with people today.
Exactly.
That was the past. Now it's time to move forward. And again, if you are able to identify certain aspects, maybe you need to get some professional help to help you work through that. Because if that's a reason why you are manipulating somebody, or that's the reason why, basically, it shouldn't be a negative thing that you use to navigate through your relationships in life.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
Don't use this or that as an excuse.
Exactly.
You are the reason why this is showing up in your life like that. Exactly. Nobody else is responsible for your life but you.
Exactly.
Especially as an adult.
And so that's the gist of it.
Yes.
It's like, you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your happiness. So these excuses, you got to let them go in order for you to really get to where you want to be in your life.
Absolutely.
But you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, why am I continuing these narratives? Why am I continuing blaming other people for where I am in my life when this happened 20 years ago, 25 years ago,
Girl.
30 years ago for some of us.
Shoot, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yesterday.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
That is the past.
None of this exists. And the beauty about it is we remember the past and we can just use it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
A gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Use it as a lesson. What have I learned about this? And don't just write down all the things that the other person did wrong and then leave yourself out of it.
Right, because it's too. People say, "Oh, it's more than one side to the story." So it's like this person's side is my side, and then there's the truth.
Yeah, his story, her story,
and then the truth. Because it's based off of some narratives that you tell yourself every day.
Exactly.
Some childhood experiences that you may not have dealt with, and how you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you're going to hear it or see it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person, the same thing. And then there's going to be the actual facts of what really happened and why. And so everybody plays a role, and you have to take responsibility for your part and your role in it. Right. And what you're willing to do, what you did do, how you felt, how you manipulated the situation, because we all have the ability to do that. Mm-hmm. And then take ownership and responsibility for that, because sometimes we expect the other individual to be a certain way, but we don't hold ourselves to that same expectation.
Wow.
And it's not fair for me to hold you accountable to something that I'm not even doing for myself.
Right.
And so that's where it comes, where it's like, oh, I got to stop blaming them and look at how I'm showing up in this relationship. Yeah. Whether it's friendship, whether it's parental, sibling relationships, family, aunties, uncles, and things like that, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Yeah. You got to look at, okay, I'm expecting them to show up for me like this, but how am I showing up?
Right.
And not saying that it's a tit for tat thing, but sometimes people show up, they can only give you what they have. And maybe they can't give you what you bring to the relationship, but it's important for you to look at what they can give. Yeah. And settle on that and not blame them for how you're feeling. Because then sometimes it goes back to, oh, I'm feeling this way because I didn't address this.
I like where you're going with this, because it's a major topic on these podcasts and different shows where we have our men that are just so upset at Black women. When are you going to let it go? How your mother raised you, the condition of the Black woman, and how you think that she should be
showing up,
how you think she should be showing up. When are you going to address your issues with your own childhood and your own mother? Because that's where it's stemming from.
Absolutely.
And you have to ask yourself why you're so upset at your mother when she stayed.
When she raised you and she did the best she could.
She did the best that she could. And the thing about our childhood traumas is when we're children, we see everything selfishly, because children don't know anything outside of themselves. So when people do things, adults or whatever, we think it's our fault. We automatically blame ourselves. And so we don't necessarily process things properly when we're children. But then we become adults and still are processing things like we're children, when we have to really look at, you're an adult. You see how hard it is to it's
nothing like perspective.
Exactly.
It's nothing like hindsight,
Exactly.
Like looking at it from a bird's eye view. If I was in this situation, shoot, I might not have even been able to handle it the way that my mother handled it.
Exactly.
Because she is stronger than I am in this area emotionally.
Exactly.
Or physically.
Exactly.
And she put up with all of that.
Exactly.
Because you start to know the truth about some things when you're an adult about your parents.
Exactly.
Because some things they weren't able to really tell you because you wouldn't understand as a child.
Exactly.
And those are the things that needs to be addressed.
Exactly.
And that's the conversation that really needs to be had on this podcast.
I agree. Instead of blaming sisters.
Yeah, because you're blaming the Black woman when she's the one who stayed. She did the best that she could. Why aren't you blaming your father, the one who left?
Exactly.
And how are you taking responsibility for that today? So you're pointing the finger at her,
right?
But you're not doing what you would have wished that she's
exactly
done. So you're not taking these young children out here that don't have a father in the home as a man.
Yeah.
You're not taking over and becoming a father in their lives. Yeah. But you're blaming your mom for not doing that. How is that fair?
How is that fair? And blaming sisters for quote unquote sleeping with these men that don't want to take responsibility, but you have a responsibility because you see it and you're quote unquote a good person. You're quote unquote a king. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but this is what you're calling yourself. But yet these children still need to have examples
and guidance
of a male figure.
Absolutely.
So you can still provide that without necessarily being in a relationship with the mom. You can provide that to the community.
Right.
But I feel like it can't even get to that point until you do your own healing. And that's why it's like, let that go. Mm-hmm. Because we'll never reach an agreement. We'll never reach a place where we can peacefully talk to one another if we don't let that go. Or if we don't do the healing.
Or if we continue to do the blaming.
And the blame game.
Yeah.
Because we blame also.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you've done everything and you're doing everything, you out of your nature.
Yeah.
And then you still getting blamed. It's like, well, how much more can I take?
Right.
You know, folks is getting tired over here.
Exactly. I'm over it.
Exactly.
And I don't even want to deal with you anymore because here you go again.
Yes.
With all of this talk about black women this and black women that.
Right.
And not taking any accountability for the men who put a seed in a woman and left.
Right. Right.
And it's just like, oh, you just got to figure it out on your own.
Exactly.
Because, okay, well, you laid down with him, but he laid down with her too.
Exactly. And some of y'all got these stories like you are a good person. We've seen it. Mm-hmm. You got the masquerade on. Mm-hmm. You're wearing the mask for months.
Mm-hmm.
Until
about 3 months.
Yeah, about 3 months. And then you slowly start to show yourself and who you really are. And then you disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the beginning, you was all in. So in order to take responsibility in that situation, we've said in our other shows, you can go back and see it. But they always tell you who they are in the beginning anyway.
Absolutely.
And don't give them more than what they're giving you. Absolutely. So you can really see who they are and see what their intentions are.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that we can let go as a collective.
Yes.
Because it's holding us back.
It's not taking us anywhere.
It's not progressive.
But around the block.
Exactly. Over and over and over. So I think like the number one thing in letting go is forgiveness.
Forgiveness first with yourself and forgiveness with whoever you think hurt you.
Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's difficult, and that's why we hold on to things.
Yeah. But once we realize that holding on to it is not going to help us live a more fulfilling life, then we will start to understand why we need to let it go. Because if you begin to hold on to that, then, like you said before, you're living in the past.
Yeah.
And then you're attracting that behavior that you don't want in your life anymore. Because it's constantly going on and on in your mind. And you're constantly thinking about this person. And they done gone on and lived their life. And they are just happy. And they sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And enjoying themselves. So it's like once we forgive, but they say we don't have to forget. We don't have to forget. But once we forgive, it won't bother us anymore.
Right.
You know, when we see that person, it'll be like, oh.
Right. That's good. And it reminds me of like living in regret too. Because there's some things I hold on to like, oh gosh, I didn't go to FAMU. And so I'm just what if I just went to a black college? X, Y, and Z would have happened. And it's like, okay.
We don't know if that's the truth.
We don't know that's the truth. And it's something that either you're going to enroll next fall.
Right.
Or you're going to let that go.
Or you're going to let it go.
Because you still have an opportunity to go. But it's something that I'll play over in my head sometimes. It's like, man, you know, what would life be like if I really did that. And so you don't want to live in regret.
No.
And to prevent that, please know who you are and know where you want to go.
And advocate for yourself.
Advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you do not want to compromise on with your goals, don't.
Because you don't have to.
To have faith that this is something that you can have.
That is true, because when you don't, you put yourself in a position to where you gotta forgive somebody for hurting you.
Yeah.
And it's really like you allowed them to cross a boundary.
Yeah.
Or you allowed them to step over your dreams, when it goes back to advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
Or telling them, no, this is really what I want to do.
Exactly.
No, mommy and daddy, I really want to go to Howard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's how we can make it happen.
Exactly.
You know, because I wanted to go there and my parents talked me out of it.
Right.
That's something I had to forgive them for.
Right.
Because when I think about it, it's like, well, they were making a decision based on where they were financially, based on where they, you know, I'm their baby girl. Yeah. They're like, oh, she's going to go out there and we don't know anybody there. Right. It was a form of protection.
Right.
And so now that I'm an adult, I understand that. Yeah. And I'm able to forgive them and let it go.
Yeah. And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And forgive yourself if you're an adult and you're making decisions and it's like, man, I should have did this a long time ago. You're living in regret. And you got to let that go, and just know you still have an opportunity to do that today.
Absolutely.
So don't use that, oh, I should have did that 20 years ago, as an excuse not to do it today.
Yeah, as long as you're breathing and you're still in your right mind, you can do whatever you want to do that maybe you did not accomplish in the past.
Yeah.
You still have an opportunity to do it.
I think in society we have this thing where, because we see people at their success, we assume that they've been doing this since they were 20. Some people don't even start until they're 40. And then they, you know, really come into who they are.
It's so true. Or we see them and we think that they never had those moments where they were living in regret.
Yeah.
Or they never had those moments where they needed to let go and forgive. Or they never told themselves this story in their mind, like, oh, this narrative.
Yeah.
It's like we just see them at their peak and we don't see the journey along the way.
Right.
And that's a detriment to the way that we look at our lives, because we're doing that comparison thing. And it's like, no, let's just focus on my journey. Let's just focus on where I want to go in life. And I think what you said was important when it's like, if you know where you want to go, then it's easier for you to focus on that. But if you don't have an end goal or idea of how you want your life to be and how you want your family to be, then do you really have a focus? You'll begin to look at other people's lives and other people's successes and be like, man, I want that. I don't have that. Or dang, how come she got that?
Right.
And I'm this, and this,
right.
You know, I'm guilty of that. And so you just got to know who you are and know what you want and begin to let go of these certain ideals too.
Yeah.
These other narratives. Yeah. Another narrative that I do want to bring up that it just came to me is, oh, you're too old to have children.
Oh,
or,
Lord.
Shouldn't you be married by now? Or the people who are married, when are you going to have a baby?
Right.
All of these different narratives and stories, when you don't know what goals this person has for themselves or what identity they're trying to attach themselves to, and you're putting this off on them of what your perception is about how you want your life to be or how you wanted your life to be. You're putting this off on someone else.
Right.
Those are some of the narratives that I'm guilty of kind of like adapting and adopting and telling myself when it's like, no, I'm going to be married when I'm supposed to be married and I'm going to have children when I'm supposed to have children.
That's how you do it.
And, you know, I'm not going to pick up what you're trying to put on me.
Yeah. Because it's dangerous when you do, because then you're in a rush trying to chase what they want for you instead of just living your life
and chasing what you really want for yourself in the way that you would chase it for yourself.
Exactly. And you just prolong the process. So if you do want to get married and you just constantly, oh, I got to get married, I got to find somebody, you prolong the process because you're doing this in, what do you call it?
Haste.
In haste. And all that energy that you're putting out there deflects what you're really supposed to be getting. So if you just relax, live your life, and do things that bring you joy, things that are in alignment with who you feel that you really are, you will attract somebody.
Somebody that is right for you.
Somebody that's right for you. That's
on
true.
The opposite side of things,
oh, gosh,
we may be in a rush and get married to somebody we just met 15 days ago.
It's happened.
And then wonder why our marriage is not like whoever's on social media. It's because you rush to get this, thinking that, oh, I got to because I'm this age, or I got to because I'm a single mom, or I got to because I'm a single dad, and I need X, Y, and Z. It's like you got the wrong motive.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing this because somebody is telling you got to rush to do it, and you just snatch up the first person walking down the street just to say that you're married.
Exactly.
And then let's see where you are in a couple of years.
Exactly. Unhappily married.
Right. And then, okay, here you are on the hunt again.
Yeah.
So it's like you might as well just be patient and live your life.
Yeah.
And not feed into that narrative that, oh, I'm supposed to be married by a certain age. Oh, I'm supposed to have a child by a certain age. When God's possibilities are infinite.
Yeah.
So that came to me and I was like, I want to bring that up.
No, and his possibilities are infinite and his timing is impeccable. And he does a lot with a little bit of time. And that's a lack thinking. Like, I'm 35. It's over. It's like you're thinking in lack because you're still young.
I was going to say 35 years old is nothing.
So
forgiveness is key.
Forgiveness is really big.
Yes. Did you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
I will say, in order to kind of, because it's like, well, how do I forgive myself? It's difficult. I get it, because sometimes we have attached ourselves to these situations for so long, it becomes who we are. It becomes our personality and our identity. Some people are just constantly broke. That's their identity, even though they,
it's like, here comes such and such. He gonna ask me for so and so.
Yeah, that becomes who they are.
Yeah.
Some people always got some drama happening with them. That becomes their identity.
That's how people identify them. Oh, so and so. She always got all the drama.
Yeah.
I never want to be identified as somebody like that.
You don't. And so that's why letting go is important, because it becomes a part of us. It's like, oh, there goes Sharice. You already know what she's going to talk about because she talks about this every time.
Yeah.
And we know she knows how to help herself, but she just continues to talk about it, and she's not just doing anything about it. You know? It's like,
so we got to hear this. So we become a burden to our family members and friends because it's something that we don't want to let go.
It's like, I remember my uncle said, he's like, well, didn't you have this problem a long time ago? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, in 2006, you had the same problem. And here you are in 2023 with the same narrative. So it becomes a part of you. And then it's like, that's the only thing that you feel like you can offer is your issues.
Right. And who wants to just be offered a handful of issues?
Right.
I know I don't.
And like I said, sometimes it's for validation, for sympathy, for people to
give you attention.
Because then you feel like you didn't have attention when you were younger. So you have to pretend like you're sick because you notice your younger brother or older sister, when they were sick, they got all the love, but you weren't sick. So
it's okay. So now
that's how children are. Exactly.
You've pulled that experience into your adult life and utilizing it to navigate your relationships, and it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy, and it's toxic. And I will also say that in order to let it go, because sometimes it has become attached to us, is let yourself know. If you didn't advocate for yourself, if you didn't do what you thought you should have did 20 years ago, you did the best that you can do at that time
with what you had.
And find peace with that.
Absolutely.
Because that's the truth. We don't have the Steve Urkel machine the Back to the Future car where we can put calculate all that, the time and the year and go back to the future.
Let's go back to 2019.
And do it all over again.
Yeah, we can't do that. We got to move forward. That's just not how God set it up.
Exactly.
We have to move. Everything in the universe continues to move forward. We have to too, or we're going to be left behind and
stuck in the past.
Exactly.
Didn't Sister Florence, she writes these books.
Florence Scovel. Yes.
Florence Scovel. She wrote
The Game of Life and How to Play It.
The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Power of the Spoken Word.
And Power of the Spoken Word. But in one of the books, she mentioned there was this girl, she was going to her class reunion.
Oh, yeah. I remember this story.
And the way that she painted it in her mind, she was living in the past and she saw it a certain way and how the guys were and everything. And it was just such a fairy tale. But when she went to her class reunion, she got hit with the reality that it wasn't what she had been playing over and over in her head over and over
for all those years.
So the truth is sometimes the past didn't even happen the way we thought it did. It's just the perception that we took from it at that time.
Right. And even if it did happen the way we thought it did, things change. That's one thing about the planet and the universe. Things are always changing.
Yeah.
So that guy in high school that swept you off your feet and he was a jock and he had all the ladies, but he chose you.
Right.
Is not that fit and not that fine and not that financially stable. So you holding on to him from high school and then you go to your high school reunion like, ooh, I'm going to meet him and he's going to sweep me off my feet again. And no.
Right.
He got all the baby mama drama.
Yeah.
He got a big old Santa Claus belly.
Yeah.
He don't have the 6-pack anymore.
Right.
He balding. It's like all these different components and it knocks the fairy tale out of your mind and you just lose your crap over it.
Exactly.
Girl, let that go. Let go of the idea of who you were in high school or who you were not. Let go of that because it's not serving you today.
It doesn't serve you today.
You're not you don't hang out with those same people anymore.
Right.
I am a different individual today. I'm always going to be Matilda.
Yeah.
But I have evolved and I want to be evolved.
Exactly.
Because I am not 17 anymore.
Right. We've matured.
We've matured and evolved.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, let me move with where I'm going right now in my life and not stay stuck in the past and let it go. You know, what happened in the past. Let's move forward. I learned my lessons, from there, and now I can apply them in the future. Because sometimes if we hold on to things, we miss out on the lesson that we can apply today.
That's the truth.
And they always say history repeats itself. Well, sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Especially with certain situations and lessons that we didn't take from the past that we should have applied today. So with that being said,
the art of letting go.
Yeah, it's an art. It's a science to it. And I hope you got some jewels and some lessons. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share.
And comment. Please let us know. We love your feedback. And we'll see you on the next episode of
Taking Responsibility for Your Happiness.
It's not them, it's you.